Hey everyone, I'm Tom and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about my reading plans for the month of August. My reading here recently hasn't been great, and honestly, I would just say in general, 2026 has not been my best reading year ever. It's honestly probably been the worst since I kind of got back into reading. So like from 2019 until now, 2026, I've just had a lot of good or fine reads, but I haven't really had any of this stuff that's at like the pinnacle, that's really like over the top, so super special. I have series that I think fit into that category, but individual books less so than I would like. So maybe this will be the month that some of that turns around, but I'm also giving myself a lot of flexibility this month. I have a very limited like fixed TBR, but this month for a couple different reasons, I'm giving myself a lot of freedom to maybe change up what I'm reading as the month goes on. With that little caveat out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about what I do plan on reading. So these will be the ones that are kind of fixed on the TBR unless something crazy happens. And the first one is the only book that I plan on bringing over from July, and that was always the original plan because it is I believe this is book 9 in the Wars of Light and Shadow series by Jenny Wirtz, and that is Initiate's Trial. These books take me a long time to read, and so I kind of always plan at least 2 months to read them. And so by the time July is over, I would like to be, I don't know, somewhere between 60 and 75% of the way done with it. So I only have a little bit left to finish in August. Now, obviously, I'm not going to say too much about Initiate's Trial being so late into a series, but just know that this is the start of a new arc. Storm Fortress, the previous book, ends the Alliance of Light arc inside the greater Wars of Light and Shadow series. And so this is obviously a little bit of a rescoping, a resetting of the board and kind of moving along in the story as we go. And I'm very interested to see or I have enjoyed what I've seen so far. And I'm very interested to see how the story keeps building into the last 2 books because it's so crazy to think I'm so close to the end of this massive series. I've been reading it for so long, and that I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean that I think I read the first book in 2022, and now we're here in 2026, and I'm finally getting to the end of it. Now I have read most of it this year, thanks to the buddy read. But yeah, I've really enjoyed the series, and it's one that I see the value of a reread on this series probably more than anything else I've ever read. I think it's an impossibility to get everything that's going on to this without having knowledge of what happens later into the series, which is a really interesting thing. Makes it for a very interesting reading experience, and it has made the discussions we're having for these books just be super valuable. Janny herself is there, which is great, but because there's so much happening, it's easy to miss things, and not in like a negative way, just like you can never get everything no matter what you're reading. And so it's been really great to bounce things off of people, get other people's interpretations of things, and just see the big moments that hit people in different ways and everything. So Initiate's Trial, what I've read has been great, and I'm assuming the rest will be great as well. Now, if I haven't already talked enough about Jenny Wirtz, I plan on reading more of her work in the month of August. So this is To Ride Hell's Chasm. This is a fantasy standalone, so that is obviously a very rare thing. I absolutely love the artwork that Jenny has, she did this artwork, and I just absolutely love it on this edition. This is a planned buddy read with Shay from Zachary Shay, and I'll be honest, I don't actually really know too much about this book. I don't really know what the plot is or anything. So I'm just kind of going into it blind. Obviously, Jenny Wirtz has built up plenty of trust with me from all of the things that I have read from her. 9-ish books in The Wars of Light and Shadow, The Master of Whitestorm. I'm forgetting, I think, something else that I read from her. But this is, once again, a standalone, which is always nice in fantasy. We don't get a lot of those. And I do just want to read pretty much everything that she's wrote. This is just another one to knock off. And I was a little maybe worried about reading Initiate's Trial and then going into Ride Hell's Chasm, just because Jenny's writing takes me a little bit longer to read. It's just something that asks you to take your time with it. You're not speed reading this, and sometimes you need to just kind of like really lock in, pay attention. And so I am looking forward to both of those. But because both of those are bigger books and I think take a little bit more horsepower for me, I have this very short book on the menu, and this is, what is it, the Forgotten Beast of Eld by Patricia A. McPhillip. And this is actually a book I saw Joanna talking about in her wrap-up, I think it was a month or 2 ago, but this is only like a 4-hour audiobook, and she said it is, the main character of this reminded her a lot of Dany from A Game of Thrones. She even put it up, and maybe I'll be able to find it too, the same cover. If you look at the cover of this book, the main character that's depicted in one of the covers looks very much like Daenerys from A Game of Thrones, which is kind of fun. I actually really like Dany in that series, so I don't actually know how similar the characters are, or if this is maybe like a prelude to Dany or anything like that, because I think this book is from 1974, so obviously before Game of Thrones, but basically she is I believe it says she's a sorceress who just kind of lives out in nature and is kind of like in touch with all of that. I didn't look too much into it, and I don't remember exactly what Joanna said about it because it's been a little bit now, but with it being so short, I don't want to like read any super in-depth synopsis on it because, you know, what's the point of that? It's only like a 4-hour long audiobook. So I think that'll be a good, you know, kind of pace change between some of the other fantasy stuff I'm reading, which I'm now noticing. It's a very heavy fantasy month. Not that that's a bad thing. And then the last thing that I really have kind of set in stone, which I say, but it really depends on when I get my hold from the library. So maybe this won't actually happen this month, but I think it should. I think I should get the hold. And that is God Emperor of Dune. This is the 4th book in the Dune saga. And it's funny, I think I have enjoyed each Dune book a little bit less than the one before. So like the first Dune book is probably like a top 30 book for me all time. I really, really like it. And I think it's another one, speaking of rereads, I think it is one that if I reread it, I would enjoy it even more, just as a more experienced reader than when I read it. I think I read that back in 2020 or 2021. And I think now, I'm a better reader now. I think I would maybe get even more out of it. But each book I have liked a little bit less. So Dune Messiah and Children of Dune, you know, were drops off compared to Dune, and each one was a little, you know, or Children of Dune was a little less than, liked a little less than Dune Messiah. But there's something about this world that I think all of the books are greater than their individual parts. And I'm so invested and interested in the world. And when I say world, I don't mean just Arrakis. I mean the kind of like the global scale. And there's obviously some like metaphysical things that are going on in this series, and it gets weird. It definitely gets weird. Children of Dune, some weird stuff happens towards the end, but I'm here for it. I'm not always there. I'm not always down for some of the weird stuff that happens in sci-fi specifically, but for whatever reason in the Dune universe, it's working for me, and I'm very interested in seeing what happens. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where even if I like it less, I think I'm what people say to read the first 6. Is that the golden path that people say to read to kind of get the full story or as much as you can? I think there's like 20 something Dune books. So I'm so far in, it's kind of at this point, I'm like, I'm probably just will finish those next couple of Dune books and call it there for sure. But like I said, that is definitely up to when I get it from the library, which I should have checked my hold before making the TBR, but I'm committed to it. And then one other thing that I would like to start, and this will be something that probably takes, I don't know, I'd have to maybe really break out the math and kind of look what's happening. But Ernest Hemingway is one of my favorite authors. He's written some of my favorite books, The Old Man and the Sea, A Farewell to Arms, For Whom the Bell Tolls. I've read almost all of his long fiction at this point, and I love so much of it. But I almost feel like he's better known for some of his short stories, and I've never read a Hemingway short story. So this is the complete collection of it, and I think this month, I might just slowly start going through all the short stories, and just, I don't know how long. I think, you know, some are as short as a page or two, and then I think some of the longer ones are like 30 or 40 pages. So I don't know if that'll be a 1 a week, 1 or 2 a week kind of thing. This is going to basically replace the short story reading I was doing for Conan the Barbarian. And so I think, you know, just getting back to Hemingway, one of my favorite writers, is going to be a really fun time, and in something completely different than a lot of the stuff I have been reading this year. So that is, that'll be fun to get into that. And I've really explored shorter fiction in the past year, 2 years, but really this year I've explored a lot more shorter stuff, and mixed results, but more positive than I would have ever thought in the past. In the past, short stuff didn't really work for me, and I don't know if it's just like how my reading has been this year, or if I'm just reading better short fiction. It has worked really, really well for me. Now, with God Emperor of Dune being a possibility just based on the library, and maybe finishing Initiate's Trial quicker than I think, and you know, these are just short stories, I do have a long list of possibilities and maybes. So first up, and most importantly, has got to be Return of the Griffin, which is book 2 in the Hybrid Helix series. I had such a great time with that first book. I think it's my second favorite book I've read this year. And if Dune Messiah, or not Dune Messiah, if God Emperor of Dune, if that hold is taking a really long time to come through, I'll probably just bump it and throw in the Return of the Griffin, because I really want to get back to that series, and this might be a good month to do it. I also am kind of interested in maybe getting back to some comic books. I've read one comic book this year, and that was the second compendium of Invincible, so it was super long. It's like 1,100 pages, but I haven't read any comics outside of that, and I have a bunch that are stacked up ready to read. Kingdom Come, Absolute Superman, some Green Lantern stuff, just like a bunch of stuff that I should just like sit down and read, and finish Invincible. That honestly might be the one I would dive into first, just so I can be done with that. I haven't even gone and watched the show yet. Absalom by William Faulkner. I've never read anything by Faulkner, and this is like a Southern Gothic story. And when I was heard about it, it was described to me as it happens in 4 parts, and it's the same story but told from 4 different perspectives. And it has to do with like basically the stain of slavery in the South and like how America can't move forward because of all those things and not fully accepting it or something like that. I don't know. Maybe a little bit of it is going to go over my head, but it sounded really interesting at the time. Another very, very short work that I want to read is called The Greatest Sentence Ever Written. I think it's about the first part of the Declaration of Independence, or is it the Constitution? I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head, but it's like an hour long. I don't know. It sounded interesting, and the fact that they're just like breaking down what was said in there, I don't know. History always interests me, and I think with that one being so short, it would be an interesting one to read. The other one this is actually another nonfiction, is The Earth is Weeping, and this is really about westward expansion and all the things that happened between settlers and Native Americans, and just like how brutal and all the things that happened during that time, which sounds fascinating. It's not something like I know a whole lot about. I read Butcher's Crossing, which kind of like is a Western, but like, fiction. It's not exactly the same. I mean, it's based in truth, but it's not the same as like this kind of nonfiction work here with westward expansion, and especially like the interaction between the natives. And then Platform Decay. That's the newest Murderbot book. It's also very short, and I might get around to reading it. Whatever I read from Murderbot before just was kind of disappointing, and so I have this one. I kind of forgot it even came out, but I have it, and so I feel like at some point I'll get to it. And just like with trying to be as flexible this month because my reading hasn't been great, I'm going to give it a chance. An honorable mention here as maybe something I will pick up this month. So obviously all over the place here. You've kind of got a general idea of what I'm reading. A lot of Janny Wertz, which is never a bad thing. But that is my reading plan for the month of August. Let me know what you plan on reading down below. Any of this, I'd be kind of surprised, really, if anybody else was reading some of the things I have on here. It's not a lot of the new, bright, shiny stuff, but I think some like really good, formative things are going to be read this month. But that's all for me. And remember, read what you want, when you want.